Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show.
Rated the #1 most listened to podcast on Pluto. So join us now as we discuss news, politics, current events, and so much more. So clear the airwaves and strap in as we
Defend the Constitution, because freedom matters.
We are broadcasting live from the Kata Studio, so welcome to the Ho-Ho Show, and as always, I am your host, Ho-Ho. So welcome, everybody. How y'all's doing? I hope you guys are doing good. I really do. So let's start off with Happy Father's Day. Yes, guys, it is. It is that wonderful day of the year where we give honor and credit where credit is due, in a matter of speaking. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I am a little bit of a, excuse the language, a little bit of a shit stir from time to time. I seen a post on Facebook. I don't know. Maybe it was Twitter. I don't know. A few days ago. And, you know, it was a Happy Father's Day. And then somebody put in there as long, you know, and especially to the mothers as well that was pulling double duty as a father. And, of course, I was like, all right, well, how about the fathers that were pulling double duty as a mother? You know, I mean, that same type of credit goes, you know, and it's a shame that we have gone into the, you know, the PC culture of things. It really is. It's very much of a shame. You know, we had the same thing with Mother's Day with birthing people, and then Father's Day attacking it by saying for some reason that it's, you know, that it's bad, you know, but it's like, guys, come on now, you know, and I tell you what, I consider myself quite fortunate, you know, both mother and father were in the picture. You know, dad passed away back in 2007. And, you know, I can't say that not a day goes by that I don't think about him, but I do think about him often, you know, and it's one of them things that the part that hurts the most, I guess you can say, is, well, in my youth, whatever you want to call it, you know, Dad told me, he goes, you know, I'm not your friend. I'm your dad. You know, you're only going to have one dad. That's me. You're going to have many friends throughout your life, but that's not where we're at right now. Maybe someday, but not right now. You know, and our relationship throughout the years, it went from father to mentor, and it was going into friend. And I was really getting to know him as a person, as an individual, you know, and that to me was awesome that I was getting to know him on that level. And it sucked because that was the time frame when he passed away, you know. But I tell you what, there's a lot of things that he taught me, you know. And people out there, you know, especially in today's day and age, whenever you just have a full-on attack on being a man and being a father in the picture, you know, because especially when we're talking about boys, you know, they need that solid male role model. They really do. You know, that person in their life to teach them what it truly means to be a guy, you know, and the responsibilities that's there, you know, because we have responsibilities, you know. Any man in the picture when walking down the road with his wife, with his child, with his significant other, whatever the case may be, you know, there's a particular spot we're supposed to walk between them and the street to protect them from whatever may be coming across. You know, when we're sleeping in the bed, we're supposed to be, you know, closer to the door to put ourselves in harm's way in case something were to happen. That's our role. We are the protector. We are, you know, the provider. That's what our role is. And that is not it's something that it just seems to be lost in today's society. You know what I mean? It seems to be lost. And so, you know, kudos to the fathers out there, those that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And yes, I'm still going to give you credit, even though, hey, you know, because there's a lot of people out there like, oh, you know, why give credit to somebody and give them an attaboy, a pat on the back for doing what they're supposed to be doing? That's what they're supposed to be doing. But dude, there's a lot of them out there that aren't. So it's a good thing to pay kudos to those that are. So yes, thank you, fathers out there. You know, you're appreciated. All right. So let's go ahead and move on and slide right into this week's content creator showcase. And today, guys, we are talking about the lovely Linda Irwin. She is an absolute amazing podcaster. Not only that, but she is somebody whom engages regularly. You know, she is very much of a giver. And I tell you what, the best way to find her is going to Spreaker.com. That is Spreaker.com. And just searching Linda Irwin. That is LindaIrwin. And she's got 4 different shows in her repertoire. And I tell you what, these are pretty amazing. Okay. The Awesome Exile Z is one that is a roundtable of different content creators, kind of getting their point of view on, you know, where it is that they came from, what they're doing, and different aspects of that nature. Awesome show to listen to. The other 2, Awesome Insanity Surfers Tracks and Continuum X. Okay, guys, I tell you what, this was the first time that I've heard anything like this, okay? And her show is unique because it is a, you know, like a 1940s style science, you know, sci-fi drama. And it really is quite entertaining. Some of the stuff that she does on there, because she does have a lot of AI voices that play their role, and it is, you know, quite hilarious to listen to. And her newest one that she has out, Tom and Paul Off the Wall. Now this one, you know, is so entertaining because I never heard before AI voices doing a talk show, which is basically what this is. You know, again, it's entertaining. I definitely recommend listening to it and checking it out. So that is Linda Irwin. Check her out on Spreaker. That is Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. Just check that out. Linda Irwin, Lindairwin. And a huge thank you goes out to her as well. You know, because again, she engages with her audience, and she engages, you know, with the people whom she listens to. So that is a huge thank you to her, Linda Irwin. Definitely check that out. And, you know, since we're talking about Spreaker, you know, I was listening to I was looking at the stats, because this is something that I don't do on a regular basis whatsoever. But like, I've noticed that I've got a lot of listens overseas, and you know, India being right up there, like the top one actually. And I thought that was pretty neat, you know, and you know, what actually further, you know, I found hilarity in is that, you know, now this is going back. Okay, guys, this is going back. My first actual live listen that I noticed, I'm pretty sure was out of India, you know, and it's pretty easy to know where your listens are coming from when you're talking your first one, you know, and my assumption was that it was, you know, somebody on a military base over there, or possibly a contractor, you know, because I mean, I don't speak their language, you know, and my assumption was, you know, that's where the audience was coming from. This was like 3:00 in the morning. I'm just like, hey, let's go live, you know, and that's what I did. And I don't recommend going back to those first shows and listening to any of those. They are absolutely horrible. They are a train wreck. I mean, holy crap. You want to talk about somebody that has absolutely no idea what they're doing. I mean, granted, I'm still figuring things out, but that's just, it was bad. It was bad. Don't listen to those. They are available, and the easiest place to check those out is heading over to the website, thehohoshow.com, clicking on the episode tab, and then just scrolling down through the Ho Ho Show, and you'll find all those. They're there, I promise you. But don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. They're bad. It's a train wreck. It is absolutely a train wreck. So for my over the seas, and actually for all my listeners, thank you guys for listening, for participating, for being there. And, it really is a treat. It's awesome. I appreciate it. All right, so moving on. Where was I going to go next? I don't remember. I don't remember. I think there was something else. I'm not sure. So, guys, I do have to apologize for something right quick. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. So I am in the process, and I'm almost finished, actually, of putting together a small series, kind of a guide to gear, if you will. And these are going to be available on, this is something that I am looking to promote a little bit more anyway. That is on the Patreon, my Patreon. So if you guys head on over to thehohoshow.com and click on the Patreon link, you guys will see that. But this guide to gear is very much geared more towards content creators, people who are getting into it, just getting into it pretty much. And, it's not reviews. They're not unboxings. It's not paid promotional material, but we're talking microphones. We're talking mixers, interfaces, lights, cameras, different things of that nature. Just things to keep in mind before you buy. Because I made a lot of mistakes whenever I, first started podcasting and going into the video aspect of things. I made a lot of mistakes. I really did. I ain't going to lie. I zigged when I should have zagged. I jumped a little bit too soon. Wasted some money because I didn't get things that were right for me, my recording environment, where I was looking to go, my direction. So I don't want you guys to make those same mistakes. So if you are interested in getting into content creation, I know I'm kind of late on the ball on this, because with the pandemic, it really has bumped up a lot of, sales in those areas. I would hate to know how many YouTube channels and podcasts have been created over the past year. I'm sure there's a lot. I would almost guarantee there's a ton. And here's one of the reasons why. If you wanted to go out and buy a microphone, a camera, specifically like the Logitech C922, it was really, really hard to find those for quite a while. They were out of stock everywhere. It's like, holy crap, so I'd hate to know how many different content creators got their start just within the past, 12 months. I'm sure it's been a lot. So guys, yeah, like I was saying, though, I do have to apologize about something because for some reason, Flipboard is not working properly. I do have the magazine done. It's up. It's ready to go. But for some reason, you click on it. It only lasts for about 5 or 10 seconds. And then it says, this page does not exist. So I'm kind of having to flow it a little bit different. So in order for me to get all these things kind of squared away, I'm going to have to, like I said, do just slightly different. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when I return, we are going to talk about, the first section of stuff we want to talk about. So just a couple minutes, guys, and I will be right back. Have you ever had an ailment that a normal over-the-counter remedy just couldn't fight? If this is the case, then boy, have I got the solution for you. Tussin. That's right, Tussin. Cough? Tussin. Cold? Tussin. Runny nose? Tussin. Itchy watery eyes? Tussin. Broken leg? Tussin. Tussin is the ultimate cure-all, guaranteed to stop anything that ails you. Tussin. Available wherever OTCs are sold. All right, and welcome back to the Ho Ho Show. So, guys, we're going to start off with something that, well, it's a little bit uncharacteristic of me. I don't usually do clips of this nature, but this one, it absolutely had to make me laugh. Now, when you guys, I got a clip to play for you. It's kind of long. It's about maybe 5 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to be playing this entire section. I really don't. But this was the interview of Colbert and interviewing Jon Stewart, and they were talking the vaccine, they were talking science, things of that nature, and I tell you what, you very much see here a clear distinction between somebody whom is a more of a comedian versus somebody whom is more of a talking head that is still trying to toe the party line. You really do. And I'm not going to be playing the clip because, well, it's of his show, so I'm not playing the video clip of it, just the audio. So, guys, check this one out and enjoy.
And when I interviewed you for it, you were talking about how little progress we've made in science in combating pandemics, because in 1918, the advice was wear a mask, wash your hands.
That's right.
And 100 years later, 103 years later, wear a mask, wash your hands.
It was soul crushing to find that. I was really hoping that, like, in 1918, they'd be like, drink a tincture of mercury and butterfly juice. Like, I was hoping it'd be like some bizarre thing, and I'm like, we've come a long way, baby. It's the exact same.
How do you feel about the science now, though?
So I will say this. And I honestly mean this. I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to science. Science has, in many ways, helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science. So, and that's kind of...
Hold on one second.
No. Now, listen.
It's coffee. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like perhaps there's a chance that this was created in a lab? There's an investigation.
A chance?
Well, but
oh my
if there
God.
is evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's
I just don't know.
a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do we do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan Novel Respiratory Coronavirus Lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think? And then they ask those scientists, they're like, how did this... So wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan Respiratory Coronavirus Lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle. And you're like, no, the name of your lab. If you look at the name, let me see your business card. Show me your business card. Oh, I work at the coronavirus lab in Wuhan. Oh, because there's a coronavirus loose in Wuhan. How did that happen? Maybe a bat flew into the cloaca of a turkey and then it sneezed into my chili and now we all have coronavirus. Like, come on.
Wait a second.
What about this?
Wait a second.
Listen to this.
Wait a second.
All right.
John.
Oh my God. There's been an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you think happened? Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe a steam shovel mated with a cocoa bean. Or it's the chocolate factory. Maybe that's it.
That could be. That could be. That could
By
be.
the way, I gave them all tuberculosis. Just
Yes. That could very well be, and Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins at NIH have said, like, it should definitely be investigated.
Don't stop with the logic and people and things. The
No,
name of the disease.
Wait a second. Wait
is
a
on
second.
the building.
Wait a second. But it could be possible. You could be right. It could be possible that they have the lab.
There you go. All right,
in
guys.
Wuhan.
So here you go. All right, you have again a clear distinction here. You have somebody whom is looking at the facts. And guys, might I remind you that not that long ago, saying such things would totally get you banned on YouTube. Absolutely, because they didn't want the truth to be talked about. You know, the conspiracy theorists out there have been vindicated. I mean, let's just be honest, okay? Because, oh, you can't talk about this. You can't talk about this whatsoever. It'll get you banned. They don't want the truth out there. And like I said, this is something that now they're at least willing to, well, maybe. You know, maybe this actually did come from the lab, from the research they were doing and whatnot, you know. And guys, you know, I'm assuming that you have probably heard that clip before. You know, I mean, the Colbert, you know, Jon Stewart. I'm assuming you guys have. And most people are pretty much saying the same thing on this. They really are, you know. And it, like I said, I mean, you've got Colbert that is very much trying to rein in Jon Stewart, and he's just not having it whatsoever. He's not having it. He's like, no, you're not reining this in. You know, because we've been reined in enough. I'm not allowing it. I'm throwing this out there because, you know, one, it's comedy, it's funny, it's hilarious. Two, there's a very good possibility that it's absolutely 100% true that it came from a lab. You know, I don't want to say, you know, with the utmost certainty that, yes, this came from a lab. But you look at the gain-of-function research, what they've been doing, and it's like, well, it's pretty possible, especially when we take into consideration the part of the, you know, the RNA sequencing or the DNA of the virus itself that does appear to be, you know, just a small section of it that does appear to have been altered. It's not going to happen just in nature, not as specifically as what we have seen. And it's like, okay, well, this does look like it was manufactured. Now, guys, I'm not saying that this is something that, you know, I'm not saying that this is something that China did on purpose. But what I am going to say is they covered it up. You know, because look at the actions. I mean, you also have heard actions speak louder than words. So what did China do at the onset of this virus whenever they first learned about it? Well, they shut down they shut down travel from the Wuhan district to other parts of China. They're like, no, you guys can't travel outside of Wuhan. But what they did, or what they failed to do, was shut down travel internationally. You know, you can go from Wuhan to wherever you wanted to worldwide. You just couldn't go from Wuhan to anywhere else in China. That speaks loads. That speaks a lot right there. You know, look at the actions of what China did, and it's like, maybe the conspiracy theorists were right. Maybe Trump wasn't such a big kook that, you know, maybe we shouldn't have ignored what he was saying just because it was Trump and we don't like anything that Trump says. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing right there. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to have 4 different things up. I apologize. Let me, see, I'm having to do this a little bit different than what I normally do. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. Bam. Bam. Oh, get that off of there. Bam. Oh, okay, that's the one. Oh, yeah, that's why I got rid of that. Okay, so moving on. I'm having to whatever. So the next thing I'm wanting to talk about is this whole, you know, summit, the G7 summit that, you know, Biden was at not that long ago. And, you know, what's hilarious is some of the left and mainstream media is so, you know, they're trying to do so much damage control on here. And hello, Dave, over there in Facebook land. He says, happy Father's Day. Hope all is well. I can't stay. Talk to you later. That is totally all right. I hope you have an awesome Father's Day, sir. And good to see you in chat. Thank you for stopping in. But they are working so hard to try to save face on what happened at the G7 summit. They really are, okay? There's a couple things that happened that to me is laughable, and it's a holy crap type of a thing because it really shows the mental state of where Biden really is, okay? Now, mind you, something that, that the left absolutely demanded from President Trump was a physical, a cognitive test to make sure that he was mentally up for the job. And this is something that you're not going to see come out of the Biden administration whatsoever. They're not going to do that. Maybe a physical, but they're not going to do any type of a cognitive test to test his brain to make sure that he's got it upstairs, what's necessary to do the job. Okay? And again, actions speak louder than words on this. It really does. So what's been going on? Well, at the G7 summit, he was like 2 hours late to the the whatever he was supposed to be talking at, like 2 hours. No explanation, no reason, no nothing. Isn't the term mainstream media too polite anymore? You know what? You got a point. It probably is. I feel it gives them too much credibility. Why are we being so polite? We need a new term for them, the totally biased media or something like that. And you know what? You're absolutely right, because mainstream media is absolutely biased. I mean, let's face it. And thank you, Dave, for bringing that up. Let's face it. They are, this is nothing more than, what's that term I'm looking for? Propaganda. That's all you see coming out of the mainstream media is propaganda. It's all propaganda based. All they're doing is putting forth out there the talking points that the left is actually wanting. They're not talking, and this is the thing that's so infuriating and frustrating to most people. Okay, like CNN's ratings has dropped so much it isn't even funny. Why? Because the word is out. People are getting to realize this. They're beginning to understand and know that, this isn't news. Because what you have are people that is opinion-based, I can't say a whole heck of a lot because, hey, let's face it, that's what I do. It's opinion-based. But I don't try to tell people that I'm doing anything but. I'm not trying to lie to people. This isn't news media. It's news commentary. It is what it is. I'm going to bring you a lot of facts. I'm going to speak truth wherever I can. The Biden protection media, I like that. I like that. That is awesome. That is awesome. Let the leftist propaganda media, yes. But I'm not lying to people. I'm not calling myself a news organization. This is news commentary. I'm pretty upfront and open about it. I got an agenda in this, and that's to open people's eyes on what's going on out there, how much they're actually being lied to. But, mainstream media, the Biden protection media, the left propaganda machine is trying to do something different. They are trying to protect the Biden administration, the Democrats, just, and that's it. That's what they're doing. The headline was Biden wiped the smirk off Putin's face. And it's like, dude, actually, no. Biden was laughing. He was, Biden had again, let's go back to, the kind of the stuff that had happened. He was 2 hours late. No explanation, no reason, no nothing. They would not do a presser with Joe Biden and Putin in the same room. Wouldn't do that. Putin answered more questions in that 45 minutes than Biden has his entire presidency. That's a fact. Biden was called out on something, and he, with calling Putin a killer, and Biden was just stuttering. Nothing wrong with that, but the point is, he had a brain freeze, a brain. Now, okay, I'm not going to say he had a brain meltdown. I'm not going to say that, because there was some stuttering, and like he like completely went silent for a good 10, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, he went quiet. Okay. Now, I don't necessarily think that he, just completely had the blue screen of death going on in his brain. I really don't think that. What I think was, his handlers were hearing the question and they were speaking into his ear. And he was trying to pay attention to that. And, he can't do two things at the same time, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to judge him on that one whatsoever, because, let's be honest with you. When most people are having somebody talk into their ear and they're trying to focus on that, their mouth working at the same time, it's really hard to do both. It really is. To listen and understand and process the words that are coming out of somebody else's mouth, along with trying to speak coherently to other people. Holy cow, I don't think I can do that one. But that's what I think what was going on. I don't think this was a blue screen of death that was going on. And I've seen that out of people. I've seen the blue screen. I've seen people's minds shut down. Guys, there was a time, okay, I mess with people whenever I'm getting fuel. I'm a truck driver. Okay, when I'm getting fuel, I mess with people. Our company name, and I spell it with I spell it wrong. I don't spell it right whatsoever. Design. Okay, DESIGN is the actual spelling of it. I don't spell it like that. Why? Because I'm difficult. And if I'm being somewhat nice, I'll spell it DEZINE, which is normally what I do. But if I'm really wanting to, just be ornery to somebody, I throw numbers in there as well. D3Z1N3 is what I do to people. And it's absolutely fun, because the first time I did that to somebody, like literally he's trying to type this and like it's just... You seen him completely shut down for a few seconds. This is like a good 4-second going on. You seen it. It was laughable, and it kind of, I was like, oh, I think I broke him. I was kind of concerned for the guy, and he's like, okay, wait a second, do that again. D3Z, hold on. Okay, go ahead. D3Z1, hold on. Okay, go again. And then I finished the spelling of it. It literally took like 4 times repeating to the guy. So I've seen people have flat shutdowns to where they could not process the information that was coming to them. They had to go on to pause. But that's what I think more or less happened. I think somebody was speaking into Biden's ear. I don't think that this whatsoever was a complete shutdown of the guy's mind, trying to think of the best possible way to phrase his argument or his position. I think somebody was speaking into his ear, and that's why he had the the mental shutdown of his voice to where he can no longer talk. He was too busy listening. That's what I think. I'm sure there are people out there that have their own opinions on this, and if you do, hey, let me know in the comments, but that's just what I think. We know that he has people talking into his ear. We kind of see this going on, the little shutdowns that he has. That's what I think it is. So to say that, he nailed it, it's like, no, I can't say that, okay? And you look at Biden's portion of the presser, he had, now this is laughable. This is pathetic, is what it is. Let's just be straight up and honest. It's not laughable. There's nothing funny about this. This was pathetic. He had note cards that was there, which, no big surprise there. That's kind of what the man operates on. But he had predefined questions from predefined people. It wasn't you raise your hand and I'll call on you like in a class. No. That's not what happened. This was hey, my people gave me a list of who to call on. And so we'll start off with this people. And that's what he said. How pathetic is that? He says the quiet stuff out loud. This wasn't something, these are stage direction notes. Okay, these are things you read and you act upon. These aren't things that you say and speak out loud. This isn't part of your script. This is your direction on what you're supposed to be doing, but he's not even smart enough to do that one. He doesn't have the mental acuity to go, oh, here's my stage directions on here. Okay, so this person, go ahead. No, that's not what he did. He was, hey, my team gave me words that, or specific people I'm supposed to ask and call on for these questions that I'm only supposed to have so many, and I have all of my answers right here. Why did they even bother with this thing whatsoever at all anyway? Why didn't they just give this little piece of paper to the people whom he was supposed to be calling on, or the entire press corps that was there? Why not just give them the piece of paper and save Biden the trouble of even going out there and looking stupid? Why not? That's what they should have done, is it not? I mean, isn't that what they should have done? Yes, that's what they should have done. Now, not only that, Biden went like absolutely AWOL at one point in time. Besides the whole being 2 hours late, he went AWOL. All right. He was found at a coffee shop or something, a place that he was not even supposed to be at whatsoever. People were looking at him like, what the heck is a president of the United States doing here? We have no clue. And then finally his wife had to go in there and rescue him and shut him up. It was like, okay, come on, Joe, pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on, Joe. Wake up, man. Come on. You took your meds. It should be kicking in by now. What the heck? Are you going to hear any of this on mainstream media? No, you're not. Because they're doing everything that they can to protect the position that they took. And I tell you what, I'm going to call myself a liar, because there was a time that I said that, President Biden will last till, 2022. He'll last that long. Absolutely. He'll last that far. He'll make it halfway through his first term before Harris has to take on the reins, But now I got to be honest. I'm really questioning his ability to make it through. I got to be honest. I got to call it how I see it. And I'm just not convinced, because he's, you got Obama 3.0, Biden, as I've heard other people say. And, it's an aspect of he is looking horrible on the world stage. I mean, he tried to introduce somebody at the G7 summit that had already been introduced, and he got mocked at and he got laughed at. Okay, he did not get, people wasn't laughing with him. They were laughing at him. Listen to the clip on that. I forget who it was that he was trying to, announce, but it was like, hey, hey, Joe, yeah, we've already announced him. Oh, yeah, no, Joe, we're laughing at you. We're not laughing with you. This is pathetic. But what is it showing? I mean, come on, think about this. What is it showing? You had President Trump, who, I mean, guys, he really was, and not toting the water, not carrying the torch for former President Trump, former President Trump. But, he was a person that people wasn't going to mess around with. Why? Because Trump showed, he made it a point to inform people, not just through words, but through action. If you mess with us, if you kill one of us, we will kill you back. He demonstrated this. People were afraid to mess with him because they knew that there would be repercussions that they didn't know. They didn't want to. Okay. And now this, I'm going to tell another story. Okay. Why is this something that people don't understand? Look, my mom and dad, they could tell the future. They didn't use a Ouija board. They didn't use tarot cards, but they could tell the future. They would tell me that if you do this, drawing that red line in the sand, you're going to get a whooping. And guess what? If I did that, I got a whooping. They could tell the future. But what you have more times than not in today's day and age is parents that are nothing more than a bunch of liars. If you do this, you're going to get in trouble. And then they do it. What do they do? You know, what did I say? I said, don't do that. I said, if you do that, you're going to get in trouble. Now, don't do it again. I don't want to see you doing that activity again. Now, let me ask you this. Is your kids actually going to be afraid of you? No. Because what did you do? You lied to them. They challenged your authority. You failed. Now they don't respect you. They're not going to listen to you. You're going to have to lose your proverbial shit before they're going to listen to you ever again. Because you have demonstrated that your word doesn't mean anything, that your word isn't going to be followed by action, and they have no need to respect you. They have no need to listen to you. They know you're not going to follow through with action, just more words. So what do we have going on in the Biden administration? The same thing. If you do this, bad things are going to happen. Guess what we're going to have? And this happens with every single new president is they get tested. Trump was tested. Obama was tested. Biden's going to be tested. How do you think he's going to rate? How do you think he's going to line up? Do you think that Biden is going to be somebody that once he draws that line in the sand, don't do this, and somebody does this, kind of like, okay, you got a dichotomy going on here, okay? You have Obama with Syria going, don't do this or bad things are going to happen. They did it. What did Obama go? Well, you called our bluff. Crap. Sorry, I forgot how to breathe properly there. But it was a crap. You called our bluff. We're not prepared to do anything. So did people listen to him? No. Did they respect him? No. They were quite happy with his presidency. He did all kinds of things. What did Biden say at the G7 summit? We're back, baby. Was he saying we're back, or is he saying that we're back to pay the bill like what we used to do before Trump? What do you think that I'm back meant? Brandon put in here, aren't we all? Aren't we all what? So I really, looking at what has happened thus far, looking at his European tour, I'm not very hopeful on things. He's carrying through with the Obama type presidency, sick and tired. Absolutely. Because that is the title of today's show. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. And just so you know, you should never finish your parents' sentences. Whenever they start off with, I am sick, never finish that with, and tired, because you're going to wake up is going to be next week. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anyway, I don't have a lot of hope. Because especially with this G7 summit, especially with what these other foreign leaders has witnessed out of Biden, are they really going to be, do you think they are afraid of him? They have seen on full display his mental decline. They have seen on full display that the man just doesn't seem to be in control. I mean, he only answered a fraction of the questions that Putin answered. And then he had to cancel, the rest of the day? Or was it the rest of the day and the next day too? Cancel everything because he just wasn't up to the task. Like a bad parody, like a government version of Euro Trip. That's funny. So I'm concerned, and this is another hilarious part on this as well. What did, Biden do, with Putin? He was, hey, I'm not just going to tell you, don't do this. I'm going to give you a list of infrastructure companies and things that don't you dare attack. I'm going to give you a full list of things you can do to hurt us, and don't do this. This wasn't acknowledging that Putin had any say whatsoever in what had already happened. with the hacking and the the ransomware that had been done. This was we know you're into this. We know this, and we're going to give you a list of places to not attack, so this way you won't be able to hurt us. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think we're going to see more attacks? I think so. More targeted attacks, because now they know exactly where and how to hit us. I mean, it's just ridiculous, And not only that, this is something that I heard actually recently. I was unaware of this at the time. But Russia was doing a war game thing, 300 and some odd miles. Brandon, correct me on my number on this. It was like 300 some odd miles off the coast of Hawaii, something that we have not seen, something that Russia has not had the intestinal fortitude, not had the balls to do since the Cold War. We've seen that the day before the G7 summit. Now, do you think that this is a coincidence, or do you think that Putin is testing the waters just to see how much he's going to be able to get away with? And I tell you what, no, he says, give or take pretty close. Thank you, I appreciate that. I think it was like somewhere around 340, 350, right around in there. I think that's what I heard. But, again, I don't remember. I'm shooting this one off the cuff. I don't actually have it in front of me. I do not remember. But, yeah, somewhere around in there, 300 miles off the coast of Hawaii. Guys, I'm concerned. And like I said before, with the things that are going on, with the demonstration that they have had, that foreign leaders have had over Joe Biden and his mental acuity, I just don't see him not being tested. He already has been tested, but I think it's going to get worse. And I think that the Democrat Party is going to have no other choice but to somehow get rid of Biden, step down Article 25 or, whatever, Article 25. Yeah. I think they're going to have no choice. But here's the thing, though, too. They're absolutely terrified about this, because if Biden steps down, if Biden is forced down, if Biden is impeached, if Biden just can no longer carry the water of the president, then, what happens? Kamala Harris becomes president, and she has already demonstrated that she isn't up for the task either. She's been the border czar, or whatever name they gave her. I have no idea. But she's been the one that's in control or over the southern border, and she has yet in 40 some odd days that she's been, officially, this is your job. She's not done anything, and her retort to this, whenever she was called out on it by somebody that was at least halfway asking a decent question, she was like, well, I've not been to Europe either since I've been president, or vice president. It's like, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? So what if you've not been to Europe? That's not your job. You're not over foreign relations to Europe. You're over what's going on at the border, and you have yet to go down and assess first person, using a gaming term on here. You've not been down there firsthand to see what is going on. Senators have done it. Quite a few different senators have done it. She has not. Yeah, I'm not repeating that, but that is absolutely hilarious. You know what? Whatever. All right, language, guys. Just giving you a quick warning on here. Tell her there's a dick that she can blow for advertisement at the border, and she will jump on it. She will. How do you think she made it through, or made it to the top? It wasn't because she was good. Not at all. It wasn't because she had an inkling of what she was doing. She slept her way to the top. There are people out there that have used the very, the pedo-ho to talk about the Biden-Harris administration. Yeah. All right, guys. Whew. Where we go from here? Oh, yeah, that's going to be funny. That's going to be funny. All right, guys. Just a quick minute. I'm going to go ahead and take another break. And, guys, we are at the return going to be talking about something that is something that needs to be talked about, and that is critical race theory. I'm going to be talking about why, in particular, this thing ticks me off so much, because it really does, guys. This whole thing is infuriating, and finally, I'm actually seeing, in various different places, a lot of kickback from them wanting to teach critical race theory to our children, and it's appalling. It really is. So just a couple minutes, guys, and I will be right back. Nope.
You are correct. You are correct. You are correct. You are correct.
Have you ever sat down on your throne just to find out that you are dangerously low on shift tickets, making it to where you have to make a mad dash to the store just to pick yourself up some? If this has ever happened to you, pick up the #1 most rated toilet paper found in Uranus and use what the professionals use. Angel Soft. See, I'm just not a fan of some toilet paper. Some of them it's like putting a pillow between your nice rosy. Others, like John Wayne toilet paper, it's like using sandpaper. But do what the professionals use. Use the type of toilet paper that is the Goldilocks of brands, Angel Soft. Available wherever toilet paper is sold. All right, welcome back. So guys, we're going to start off this segment by talking about, he's one of my favorite actors. He really is. Okay, he's been out there for quite a while. One of the first movies I seen him in was Big. Of course, I am talking about the iconic Tom Hanks. Now, guys, I'm not a big fan of his politics, but as an actor, I like some of the stuff that he does. And actually, I most recently seen that Terminal, which is a very good movie starring Tom Hanks and Catherine Zeta-Jones, if I said her name properly, which I have no idea if I did or not. Good movie. I like the stuff that he's been in, but I don't really like his politics. Now, he has been called out on something that he has said, and quite honestly, I don't really see what the problem is with what he was talking about. Now, this headline out of the Daily Signal, let me go ahead and pull that up for you guys. That one right there. NPR's ritual shaming of Tom Hanks. So what he says down here in this article, he was talking about the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, that it was systemically ignored, perhaps because it was regarded as too honest, too painful a lesson for our young white ears. Why he put white ears in there, I have absolutely no idea, but that's what he said. And he was getting criticism from that. He was getting kickback from that. And, you know, he further went on to admit that they taught slavery with Harriet Tubman, Crispus Attucks. I don't know him, I got to be honest. George Washington Carver, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King Jr., and the Ku Klux Klan, and said that it wasn't a whitewash. Okay, whatever. Now, look, here's the thing, man. This is something that we do all the time in our society whenever it comes to teaching our youngsters, okay? Even in church. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, you also have heard about the story of David and Goliath. What do they really teach? You know, that, hey, he used a sling and dead. What they whitewash, what they gloss over, what they barely mention is that after Goliath was knocked the F out, that he took Goliath's sword and hacked his freaking head off and then put it on a silver platter and said, here you go, king. I got a present for you. They kind of whitewash right over that. That's just kind of what we do as a society. We try to, you know, we try to, you know, protect our children from some of the more questionable historic truths out there by, you know, just kind of glossing over, by trying to say what is bad without really putting in there the full context and the you know, the actual demonstration of why it's bad. Like with the Ku Klux Klan and with racism and with slavery in general, you know. But now you have critical race theory going on. Okay, now this is something that absolutely infuriates me, okay? Because in order to jump on board with critical race theory, you have to ignore a few things. You have to ignore the teachings of Martin Luther King Jr. because Martin Luther King Jr., let's not forget, he had a dream about a colorblind society where he was judged not by the color of his skin, but by his merit, the quality of his character. We have to ignore things like Oprah Winfrey. We have to ignore things like Obama becoming president. We have to ignore actors out there like Denzel Washington, the one of the best actors who has ever portrayed God. Only, you know, another good one was Alanis Morissette, but one of the best actors to have ever portrayed the role of God as in, you know, Morgan Freeman. Almost forgot the guy's name. Holy crap. You know, and he put something in here that is absolutely amazing. Well, not put in here, but one of the things that Morgan Freeman has said was, look, if you want to get rid of racism, now I'm going to add a little bit of my own. I'm going to add a little bit of what somebody else has said, and I'm going to paraphrase. Stop teaching it. Stop talking about it. That's what Morgan Freeman said. Stop talking about it. And if you do that, you'll eliminate racism in most every form in a generation, if not two. At the most two. But you'll end racism in a generation because we are not inherently racist. This isn't something that is in our DNA. This isn't something that's in our blood. This is something that we are taught because it's talked about. Insurance guy also playing God in the show. Lucifer. Yeah, exactly. I forgot. You know, are you in good hands? You know, I like that guy too. The guy who played Serrano in Major League, awesome show. Kevin Hart, some of the best comedians out there. You know, say what you will about Eddie Murphy over his career, but dude, you know, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, holy crap. These people paved the way, you know, oh man, don't get me started on that. These guys paved the way on comedy. They made stand up and make comedy what it is today. Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, you know, absolutely good stuff. But you have to ignore all these tenets. You have to ignore, you know, are you trying to put George Carlin in there? I don't know. Anyway, you have to ignore all these teachings. You have to ignore the progress that we have made over the past handful of years. And you have to ignore, or you have to believe that this entire thing called slavery happened and was birthed in America first and foremost and didn't happen anywhere else. And that, my friends, is an absolute lie. It really is. It is a complete lie. Racism did not start here in America. It didn't. In fact, most of the slaves who came over here from Africa were already slaves whenever they came over here. These weren't people that were just stupid and ignorant and didn't have anything to bring to their society. The only thing that they didn't know was English. They knew all kinds of things. They were tradesmen. They had pride in their work and what they did. But racism didn't start here. And you also have to assume that nobody else has ever been a slave. Because guys, I tell you what, you are teaching kids that because you are, and this basically boils down to black versus white. You are holding somebody, a child, who has never done anything in their life. You're holding them accountable for something that was done a generation or two ago. You're holding them accountable for that whenever they didn't have jack diddly squat. I mean, honestly, what does a 5-year-old, what did they do in slavery? What did they do? Had they ever beat a slave? No. How about the 5-year-old that's in the class with him? Has he ever been a slave? Did he have to go out and pick cotton? No. But you're teaching the black kid that, you're a victim because you're black. You're teaching a white kid that he's an oppressor, he is bad, he is evil, just because of the color of his skin. And this whole racism thing and critical race theory has another bad, demoralizing thing, because you're basically teaching kids, our youngest black generation, that you can't do nothing without government, without a government handout. Because with this whole, voting rights thing. Yeah, Brandon put in here, I will speak for you because you are the victim. Insert virtual signaling douche, not here. Exactly. That's what they're doing. But, with this whole, voting rights thing, okay, you're telling black people that, you're too stupid, you're too ignorant, you are too dumb, you are too lazy to get an ID card, to vote, to, read your ballot and properly fill it out. You're telling them that you're too stupid, dumb, ignorant, and lazy to do this. That's what you're teaching them, only because you're black. That's what they're telling people. And they're basically saying they're thinking that a black person or any other race besides white people has ever flown on a plane, got a bank account, a hotel room, had a job, ever went to the doctor's office, and a myriad of other things, buy alcohol, buy cigarettes, library card. I think I mentioned that already. But you're telling people that only white people has ever done any of these things. Black people have never done this, have never driven a car, none of that, because they're too dumb, stupid, and ignorant to do it. Guys, I don't know anybody, race aside, I don't know any American that can't say that they have done one of those things, that an ID is required, at least at some point in time in their life. You may have people nowadays that, they may not have a state-issued ID, but even that is pretty dumb to say that I don't have a state-issued ID, even if you don't drive a car, which in some places you don't need to. If you live in downtown New York City, or just in anywhere in like the inner city, you might not have a need to, because you might not drive. You can walk, or you can take a bus or the subway to wherever it is you got to go. You might not have to get that, but there's still a myriad of other things that you're going to be doing in your life that needs an ID card. It's kind of stupid not to have one to verify who you are, your identity, anything else. And you also are basically saying you are ignoring the fact that there are other races out there that has had to endure slavery, and I am a descendant of such people. I am descendant of slaves. So, but my people, we didn't say we need reparations. We didn't hold the victim status. We didn't hold the victim card. We didn't want to be pitied. Instead, we were empowered to go on, move on, and grow despite what happened to us. It made us stronger. We did not use our history. We did not use our past to become a victim in everyday society and are still crying about reparations and I am the victim and you need to pity me because of the color of my skin. My people, we took a stand and we said never again. Two separate instances, but we took a stand. We got out of the country. We were no longer slaves. We fought for ourselves. And now, by telling people, a generation, entire generation, by telling them that they are a victim only because of the color of their skin, that they are an oppressor, they are bad, they are evil only because of the color of their skin, what you're going to have is the biggest race war we have ever seen, even bigger than the Civil War whenever we fought to abolish slavery. Brandon put in here, he goes, I would call in, but I am so sick still and can barely talk. Otherwise, we would go down the rabbit hole together. The machine loves and misses its people. Yeah, I miss hearing you. I was ready to tune in. I did not know that you were actually sick, but yeah. Hope you get better soon. But we're looking at, if this continues to go, we're looking at the biggest downfall of society that we have seen in a generation, or more, actually. We really are. The biggest race war this nation has ever seen is just a fact. Because when you teach kids oppressor and victim, not based off of merit, not based off of anything that they did, holding them accountable and liable for the sins of their couple generations up, which may or may not have even happened. I mean, you're assuming that I am a descendant of slave owners only because I'm white. I may or may not be, I don't know. But I do know I'm descendant of slaves. Some white people even had it pretty hard in this country. Like the Irish were hugely mistreated whenever they first came over. Critical race theory. Not a fan, but the good news is we are at least seeing some blowback from this. People are saying that, look, we're not going to teach this to our kids because this is just stupid, bad, ugly, and does not belong in our schools. We are getting people whom are saying, no, I'm not doing it. This headline from Axios, educators face fines, harassment over critical race theory. Why? Because they're not toting the party line. That's why. Because they're fighting back, they're taking a stand, we're not going to do it. And I love this picture on here. Let me bring this back up. Educate, not indoctrinate. Stop critical race theory, meow. That's not the role of our government, as they like to call it, public school system. That's not the role. Their role isn't to indoctrinate our children. Their role is to educate our children. Teach them. I was listening to an interview. Actually, it was somebody calling into another show. And they were talking about, somebody that was, like went to one of our colleges and was like, holy crap, you guys, your education system, your school system is better at indoctrination than what North Korea is. I was flabbergasted. I was blown away. I knew it was bad, but holy crap, to actually hear somebody who has experienced both to say that our school system, our education system does it better than an actual communist regime. I know I didn't say that one right. In North Korea, that's saying something. Brandon Peter goes, I'm descendant of a Nazi. That doesn't mean that I am accountable for his actions, nor am I him. Absolutely. And same with all white people, considering the overwhelming majority are not descendant from slaves. Yeah, you got that right too. Just because you're black in this country doesn't mean that you are descendant of somebody whom was a slave in America. In fact, did you guys know that the first slave owner in the United States of America was a black guy? It's been documented, it's true. You guys can look it up. The very first slave owner in the United States was black. That's a part of history they don't want to teach. They definitely do not want to teach. Let me look in here. Where are we going from here? Where are we going from here? Incoming 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What are you doing? I'm kind of scared. I have no idea what Brandon's talking about in here. He said slave owners. Incoming in 5, 4. Oh, holy crap. Let me answer. There we go. Welcome, Brandon. You are on the air. How you doing?
Oh, I'm living. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. So what are you sick with, man?
Well, remember I had to have oral surgery and shit. Yeah. Sorry, shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
That's all right.
Oral surgery and stuff, and because of the medication and the intensity that had to happen, I had to have bone grafts. You name it. I'm still really, really sick.
Gotcha. So what's up? What are you wanting to talk about? I'm assuming critical race theory. I'm assuming that's where you're wanting to go.
Yep, we're going with CRT. I couldn't sit here and listen. And by the way, I apologize to everybody right now if you can hardly understand me. Like I said, I'm still really sick and really swollen, and I'm having a hard time talking. But
let's go down to all right.
Yeah. I could just spit my teeth out and we could talk that way too, you know.
Right.
But let's go down that. Let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's go down CRT, and like I mentioned with my own personal experiences, because at the end of the day, you can only talk necessarily to your own personal experience.
Yes, absolutely, I agree.
So with my experience, even growing up and even now, like I said, not gonna lie, I've told people this, and I've been teaching people about it, and that's why I have a love for history, because my great grandfather was in fact a soldier, and he was a Nazi.
Yes.
And what do we always say? We have to learn from history, and you also can't blame everybody, for that history. And let's go off the basis of that, and let's start with, my side of the family that's American Indian. Okay. I was told by a listener that I should not be talking about race. I should not be talking about anything that has to do with that, because I'm not brown enough.
Right. Yeah. That whole white splaining is a term that they like to throw around, like I can't talk about it or anything like that, but it's like, why not? Don't we need to engage in the discussion?
Exactly. And the way I try to explain to people with this is, think about percentages. And they get mad, like, well, what do you mean? I was like, okay, let's go with percentages. the percentage of white people versus black people versus, Native American versus, Asian American, stuff like that. Look at the percentages. You're telling the majority of the country that they are not allowed to speak because they're a certain color. That in and of itself is racism.
Yes, it is.
They will throw a fit. Said, no, that's not right. No, that's not right. And I was like, so, no, it's exactly right. You're telling me that because of my white side, I am not dark enough, so therefore I can't speak on racism. You're telling white people who have never owned slaves, whose families never owned slaves, because there was only about, what was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, Jared. It's been a while. Just like 2% of the population actually owned slaves.
That I'm really not even sure, but one of the things I do remember that even after, the emancipation, and slaves were freed, there were, and here's the thing that I have mentioned, I've brought up, and a lot of people don't like hearing this. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily about owning slaves. I mean, let's face it, this is something that has been going on for a long time. There's, very honorable, good, godly men in the Bible, Job, for instance, who owned slaves. Is it about owning a slave, or is it how you treat them? Because, let's face it too, because we're slave owners now. I'm a slave. Why? Because I don't work for me. I work for somebody else. I have bills. I have credit. I work for somebody else. That's the same thing as being a slave.
Yeah, we're all slaves. In fact, I'll give you a good example of that. We're using them right now. You can't see the chains because there's no longer chains, but you've got cages. You've got chains. You're holding your cell phone. You're using your computer. They know that they can use this to keep the slaves going. Well,
not only that, more directly, you own a house, you put a mortgage on your house, you get a house, somebody else is paying for it, you're not. You get a car, somebody else is paying for it, you're not. That's a slave to that. You're a slave right there. The only difference between now and then on that aspect is I have chosen who my owner is going to be. And I don't have to worry about getting whipped anymore. But that's the thing. No, it's an aspect,
I don't know. Have you ever met the IRS?
Well, yeah, because that's a fallacy about owning a home. You never do. You don't pay your taxes. What's going to happen? They're going to yank that house right out from underneath you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Right. But let's, I brought the whole slave trade for a reason, because that's part of the percentage. But let's wheel back and just go back, like you said, to racism in and of itself. Racism only exists because people are keeping it alive, and CRT is the worst offender of this. It is now teaching, like you said earlier, it's now teaching young black children, young Mexicans, young Asian children, anybody who they say is a minority, is teaching them that they are in fact a victim no matter what, and that the only person to blame is white people. This is reverse racism in and of its best.
Absolutely.
Well, and think about it this way. You want to talk about racism? I told somebody this, and boy, did I get yelled at. I was like, you want to know modern racism? You want to know who's oppressing you? It's your damn government. It's these government subsidies that they're giving you. Like, what do you mean? I was like, you have affirmative action. You have this and that. They're saying, let's be overly nice to people who are of color because, well, they're just so oppressed, so we can oppress the white folk instead.
I'll do you one better than that.
Diversity higher. Oh, hold on. Let me finish this thought.
Go ahead.
And they're like, well, what do you mean? I was like, listen. I was like, what do you think you are when you go to a company and they hire you not because of your skills, but because of the color of your skin? Diversity hiring. What is that? And they're like, what do you mean? What is that? I said, you are now the token, and I'm not going to say the word. You are the token of that company.
The token black guy. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll say it for you. I don't care.
Well, I'm trying to keep my language clean. This is not my show.
Right. Yeah, but that's truthful though, and that's an ugly fact, and you're absolutely right. You are a a diversity hire. You're a hire so that this way they can make their numbers look good. You know, you were given that job. You didn't earn that job. You were given that job. But I'll give you one better than that. The biggest adversary that black people have in America today are other black people. Who are you more apt to get, talked down to and get killed by and what have you? Is it somebody who's white or is it somebody who's black? Who's more likely
Correct.
to oppress you? And they want to blame white people because, you're the ones that, because you were the slave owners, you're the one who made it part of our culture. But instead of rising above that and being better like other people whom have slavery in their generations, you decided to be a victim of it and not rise above it.
And if you don't believe you're a victim, then if you are a free thinker, if you don't believe that you're a victim, now you are the Uncle Tom, the Aunt Tom. You are you just don't understand how oppressed you have it.
Right.
And this is indoctrination on an epic level, like you said, especially through our schools, that they're teaching them to be professional victims instead of being what they truly are, which is a free American.
Mm-hmm.
There's no country on earth that is like this that will allow this kind of thing to happen. And that shows you just how free, and I know we got people on our side, we're not free. Bullshit, we actually are. Because this is the only country on earth where you can get out and you can say, screw you, I'm oppressed, white boy did it, and get away with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be hung, you'd be stoned, you'd be killed, you'd be shot, you'd be burned, you'd do anything that they can to silence you. Here in this country, you are free enough to speak your mind. You are free enough to say, hey, it's not my fault, it's somebody else's. Oh, sure, you're free to say it. Doesn't make it right.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't make it truthful.
I mean, you're free to be stupid. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're free to be stupid. You're free to be wrong, but yeah.
And like we were talking earlier, like I said, I have been told multiple times, especially because of the radio show, because, to your listeners out there, if you have not listened to us, you'll get the joke immediately. We don't pull punches. We use language that nobody else is going to use because we want you to hear. We want you to understand. And we're not going to sugarcoat stuff for you. I stopped myself.
Good job.
We're not going to sugarcoat stuff for you because that is counterproductive. The PC culture is the reason why you are being dumbed down. It's the reason why you do not understand what really is. All you know is your feelings. You don't know the facts.
Blatant truth and honesty, and absolutely. And I'm the same way. I mean, I might not use, as much as the language that you use, but I am not afraid of any type of a topic. I mean, come on. If I was afraid of topics, we wouldn't be doing critical race theory right now and talking about it in the light that we are. I'm not afraid of a topic, because we need to be truthful in the discussion. We have to be. Because if we're not truthful, if we're not coming from a place of facts and information, we've already lost the argument,
Exactly.
And it irritates me a huge.
It gets lost in translation.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I'm, one of the things I despise out of the left is, because they don't care about facts. It's about the emotion, kind of like the Smollett thing. It doesn't matter whether it was a hoax because, what's the thing we're talking about, and that's racist. It's like, well, come on. If racism was so big, if this was such a huge thing, then why can't you pick as your poster child, somebody who was actually discriminated against and something that evil actually happened to them? Why do you have to make something up? That's an argument that I made. And we get no answers on that. Nope. We got to talk about the discussion. We got to have the discussion because it's so bad and so evil. Well, I disagree. And like what you said earlier, it's, Morgan Freeman said it best. You want to stop racism? Stop talking about it. Stop teaching it to our children. And like I said, it'll be over in a generation if we quit teaching it.
Right, and we need to touch down on what he means by that, because people believe, well, you're just trying to erase history. I'm like, no, that's actually your side that's erasing history. What we're trying to say is you teach that history, but you teach the truth of the history. You not teach the Hollywood version where everybody's a victim. You teach what went on and who stopped it. In fact, I'm going to say this, and I know this is going to piss a lot of people off right now. You're welcome. Happy Juneteenth. The reason why I'm saying that is because you can thank the Republican Party and people like me who stopped racism, who went to war for it, and who gave you the chance to not be oppressed like you think you are.
Yeah. You know, and that's...
they get mad like, well, there was a switch. There was a switch. There was never a switch.
No, well, there was a
Democratic Party's
switch.
Always a racism.
There was a switch, but at the time the whole racism was coming back, they had already transitioned from Republican to Republican, Democrat to Democrat. There was a switch, and then the real Republican Party actually came forward. I mean, there was a switch. They're right about that, but not in the way that they try to teach people. You know, I mean, think about it. How long has Biden been a registered Democrat? Since 72 plus is whenever he got elected in 72 and became a representative, or was he a senator? I don't remember, but that was in 1973.
Well, and since you opened the door to that, let's talk about that. They were talking about how racist the previous administration was, how racist all the people that voted for him. It doesn't matter if you're white, like I said, if you voted for Trump, then you ain't black. If you voted for Trump, then you're an Uncle Tom. If think about the history of these two men. And I'm not doing this to, I can already hear the wheels turning on the heads of cabbage that are listening right now, the opposition. They're like, well, you're just, you're holding up your boy. You're protecting Trump. Absolutely not. If he would have done anything that we thought was actually racist or really racist or anything of that matter, we would have brought it up and we would have excoriated him, just like we did with every other president that we've ever talked about.
Yep, absolutely.
But the proof is in the pudding. Okay. There's absolutely zero proof that he's ever done anything at all, not even a word that makes him a racist. On the other hand, we have Biden. Biden said he did not want his kids growing up in a racial jungle. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven without having a slight Indian accent. I can name off 100 things that man has done, including being the best friend of Robert Byrd, who was one of the grand poobahs of the Ku Klux Klan. But they are so indoctrinated. They are the Democrats have been so twisted that they think that, again, the parties have switched. The racism is on this side. The Republican Party is now the racist ones, and the Democrats are not. This is gaslighting on an epic scale. And that's simply not true. You have a racist in office. In fact, in order to show how much he isn't racist, he had to have a black woman who has the shittiest record on planet to run as his VP, because he wanted to make sure that he had someone, and whether we like her or not, and whether she understands that she is now the token.
Yeah, exactly. I just about ready to bring that up. She's the token black person in the administration. You're right.
By the way,
you're absolutely right.
Well, on a slight offshoot, on the side of things here, you can't tell I missed this shit, right?
Oh yeah, not at all. No.
I've missed for your listeners out there, to let them know I've only missed 1 week and I'm already getting twitchy. So, but
how long have you been podcasting? Not just on as the Machine Radio Show, but prior to that, how many years experience you got?
Almost 12, if not just a shade over. Right,
and with just under the Machine Radio Show, your own banner, how long have you been doing that one?
Almost a decade.
Oh, holy crap! So you've been doing this for a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, time or two. Yeah.
And and to let everybody know, like I said, with my situation, what's going on right now, I'm not going to get into details because people don't need to know. Let's just say things are really rough right now, and that's the reason why we had to pause the show. In fact, there may be a pause again. But like I said earlier, I wanted to let everybody know the machine's still here, and the machine loves everybody. It is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's just going to be on hold a little bit, and if at all possible, I will help out with the Ho Ho Show to keep the ball rolling, because I believe people need to listen to us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's
And by us, I mean Weaponized Sloth Productions as a whole, not the machine, not the Ho Ho Show. They need to hear our voices. They need to know. They need to get this information. And and also to the listeners of the Ho Ho Show, you're welcome. I have created a monster, and he's here talking to you right now.
Yeah, I've said it before on the show that, I got started on this because I was trying to download the Spreaker podcast app to listen to you, and I downloaded the wrong stinking app. Next thing you know, I created a show, and I'm like, well, crap, I got a voice. Heck, why not? Let's try this.
Yep.
And here you go. Almost 4 years later. Here I am.
I gave him his addiction. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm a bad influence.
You are.
But speaking of that, speaking of our voices, we've said this a lot before, and I know I'm hijacking your show.
That's all right.
But we've said this a lot before. This is not about us. Do we do this because we love it? Absolutely. Do we do it because it's important? Absolutely. Are we doing this for fame? Absolutely not. If anybody out there decides one day they want to start a podcast and they want to understand what we do and how we do it and how much goes into it, you can contact the Ho Ho Show. You can contact the machine. You can contact Weaponized Sloth Productions. We will walk you through it. We will tell you how to do it, because we're not doing it to hold our own brand or to corner a market or anything else like that. In fact, I know I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for Jared, but what we do, we don't do it for fame. We could give a shit less if you know our name.
Right.
We want you to know the shows.
And I tell you what, one of the things that I love about doing this is it keeps me informed. It keeps me up to date on what's going on, and it keeps me honest, because I want to be truthful. I want to be, having the right information to give people. And hello, J-Ron over there on Spreakerland. How you doing? He says, hey guys, HFD, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I am. Thank you for joining in the chat.
Well, how the F you doing too?
Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, it keeps me honest. It keeps me up to date. It keeps me informed on what's going on. And that, that to me, in a matter of speaking, is worth it. I wasn't as informed prior to doing a show than what I am now. I wasn't as plugged in, And
Right.
I'm sure in a lot of ways you can say the same.
Right. I knew about politics. I was understanding them, and I knew history, but I did not know them to the extent that I do today. I've had people even go as far as ask me if I have college degrees, and when I tell them no, they're shocked. They're like, "Wait, you know more than most people we know, including professors that we've heard speak.
Right.
Why don't you have a degree?" I'm like, because all it is a piece of paper.
Right.
It does not give you the knowledge. All it does is say, hey, I know something.
And that's funny too, because I've had, people whom knew me in school that was like, when did you get so smart? I'm like, I've always been. I just hit it. I wasn't the person that wore my intelligence on my sleeve. I paid attention. So, there's that. And J-Ron says, happy Father's Days. I like how he spelled that. That's awesome. Yes, happy Father's Day to you too.
Or how did I put it that one? Did I put it that one time? I'm not an idiot. I just play one on TV.
Exactly right.
Because we've had these things where, and the reason why I brought up backtracking a little bit, the reason why I brought up the whole the fame, oh look at me, know my name, stuff like that, because on the opposition, we have people that we know that are like that.
Oh yeah.
They want their face out there. That's all they want. They want to know. And then when you corner them and actually start talking to them, they get scared and they clam up and they leave.
Yeah. It was funny. I was up in Ontario. I was at one of the quote unquote rest areas, which their rest areas are more like, the service plazas on like up on a tollway, because they don't just have parking, they have, food and different things of that nature in there. And, I usually give my name as Ho-Ho whenever I'm getting something like, what's the name? I say Ho-Ho. And the lady that was checking me out, or not checking me out, but the person who was checking, she was like, oh, well, my kid listens to a Ho-Ho or watches a Ho-Ho on YouTube. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So, I mean, I, didn't pipe up any more than that. I just left it alone. But I was like, maybe it's me.
Well, I remember that's happened to us, too.
Yeah.
Where I was at a store, and these people kept staring at me. And, for your listeners out there, I have this nervous twitch. If somebody's staring at me, I kind of do the Forrest Gump. I look at you and wave in a funny way.
Right.
So, and I did this, and I stopped, I kept feeling the eyes on me, and I was like, what is going on? And I turned around and looked, and the guy finally spoke, and he's like, you look really familiar. Do we know you from somewhere? I'm like, well, sir, I don't know. I'm everywhere. I don't know. And I happen to be wearing the Machine Radio Show shirt.
Right.
And the lady looks down. She looks at my shirt. She goes, "It's you." I'm like, "It's me, what, ma'am? I'm sorry." She's like, "We watch you on YouTube. You got a really bad mouth."
Well,
And I'm like,
thank you very much.
I'm busted. Yeah, I was like, I'm busted. And she's like, "No, we love it. We love the fact that you're not, And she says, she goes, "We love the fact that you don't pull punches, that you do use the language you use, because it's almost a shock value. It gets us to pay attention and listen." I was like, "Well, thank you very much. That's my goal." And she's like, "Well, what is your name? We've never heard your name." I'm like, "Well, we say our first name is the beginning of the show, and that's it." And that's where I was getting to the point. We don't care if you know our name.
Right.
And they finally, what's that?
Oh, go ahead. Continue.
Oh, no, she finally asked me, she goes, "Well, what is your name?" And I told her, and she goes, "Are you a local?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." She goes, "Well, good for you. I'm glad that somebody is willing to speak up in these times without fear." I'm like, "Well, yes, that is true." I was like, "But more people need to do so, ma'am." And we probably talked for half an hour, 45 minutes, but it was just weird that people noticed who I was when we don't advertise necessarily who we are.
Right. And that's the thing, and this is an aspect of, and the only place that I can really give Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez any type of credit whatsoever. Now, hear me out on this. I'm sure I just made your eyeball twitch. I'm sure I just made your eyeball twitch.
Entirely different.
You're what?
I was going to say there's another reason, but it's not for her politics.
Well, no, not for her politics, but one of the things that she has shown average everyday people. I mean, think about it. She was a bartender. She's shown us that anybody can do this, and the thing that, to remind everybody out there is that, yes, you can do this, be the change you're looking for, In a small part, we are doing our part by doing a show to try to inform and engage and keep people informed on what's going on. But, some people have this, some people have other things. And if you feel that calling within yourself to do more, engage in politics, start local, go, and then go big, go up, She has shown us that you can do that. If Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who barely has 2 brain cells to rub together, can do this, anybody can.
Yeah. Or as we refer to as the amazing breathing potato.
Yes. And it's amazing how much power, in a matter of speaking, she has in Washington. It really is. As a member of the squad. But it is though. I mean, she got out there. She did it. Anybody can do it, especially considering how bad the Republican Party is. Instead of crying about how bad it is and how little they represent you and how they represent their own, aspirations or whatever you want to call it, do something about it. Don't just not vote. Don't just do, whatever. Go in, participate, go ahead and run. Who knows? You might get elected.
Yep. And that's been brought up before, and I'm already saying no. I'm not running for office. No, I will not run for office.
Yeah, no, me
because
neither.
y'all can't handle me.
Oh yeah, you know, and that's my problem, and I'm sure that you would have this issue a lot yourself. Is that I would have a hard time compromising to the point to be effective in Washington. And I don't like
play
a
well
lot
with
of
others.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's right and there's wrong. Our founding fathers knew what they were doing. They really did. And it's an aspect of with the as much voices are up in Washington. Yes, you need to be able to play well with others, but I'm not going to ignore my oath like Biden did right off the bat and go against the Constitution just to make myself look good for my party and try to hold hands with the person across the aisle that I have nothing in common with. I mean, these are people who are wanting to open up our border. These are people who want to kill our children, and these are people who are wanting to shut down American business and American industry. What do I have in common with these people? Nothing. I'm not playing well with them.
Right, and that is my point. My point is not that I've always said I'm the nicest asshole you'll ever meet.
Right.
But that being said, it's the moniker is true. The reason why I say I would not play well with others is because I would not be able to stand there and have someone who thinks that they are above me tell me what I can and can't say or what I can and can't do for the country that I love.
Right. I would have a hard time
I'm
putting
not
that
gonna
false
stand
smile
for
on my
it.
face. Yeah. Yeah.
But I better get off of here because I'm past my medication time. And as soon as I take it, I'm going to be rather useless. So,
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you calling in. It was a good conversation. Thank you.
yeah, I had to, man. I couldn't do it. I was twitching.
Right. I understand. All right. Well, you have yourself a great one and take care, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, there you go. Brandon Gatton, he is host of the Machine Radio Show. He is co-owner of Weaponized Sloth Productions, and yeah, he's got a couple years experience doing this. He really does. He's got a few years doing this. So guys, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we're going to talk about something, and I might actually make him twitch on this next topic. There's a very good possibility he may want in on this too. But we're talking our founding fathers. We're talking people whom are just flat cowards out there, in alternative media, in general. Something that our founding fathers put as an option, but have yet to really follow through with any of it. Like I said, cowards. So just a couple minutes, guys, and we will be right back. Do you work at any of the myriad of jobs where you might have to sit on your bum all day? Well, if so, maybe you know what it's like to suffer from the condition known as swamp ass. Well, if so, have I got the solution for you?
Anti-monkey butt powder.
That's right.
Anti-monkey butt powder.
You can use it indoors, outdoors, work or play, or on any occasion when you sit on your bum all day. Don't let your buns get red. Use anti-monkey butt powder instead. Available wherever anti-friction powder is sold. I love that one. I really do. You know, and unlike most of the other quote unquote commercials I have done, that one is like an actual real one. Kind of like my AngelSoft promo. But anyway, guys, we're going to be talking about our founding fathers, you know, because it's one of them things that, you know, they kind of knew what they were doing, you know. They kind of had a few things where, you know, they could have done better, you know, like term limits. And that's one thing I got to be honest with you guys. I'm a little two-sided on that, you know, because I'm one of them people that, you know, you get what you deserve. And unfortunately, it seems like, sorry about that. That was kind of a hiccup. Whew, oops. But I'm kind of under the thing of, you know, you get what you give. Or, I'm sorry, not really you get what you give, but you get what you deserve. You know, and if you're stupid enough to elect the same stupid people like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the office, people who have absolutely no idea, you know, what it means to be a patriot, then you kind of deserve the representation that you're getting, you know. But at the same time, why should everybody suffer for your stupidity? Because there's a lot of issues that would be resolved if we had term limits, but not just term limits on, you know, Congress people, you know, House of Representatives and the Senate, but also with our Supreme Court justices. You know, nothing in there says that, you know, they should be or have the right to serve for the rest of their life. It's not in there, you know. And what's infuriating to me on this isn't just the fact that, you know, you have all this going on with the lack of term limits, but it's also an aspect of, you know, they put the word of a Supreme Court justice over the word of the Constitution, which again, I find rather infuriating because it should not be. You know, the article that gave the Supreme Court their power, the Supreme Court does not have standing over said document. It just doesn't exist. And it's stupid to say or think that. I mean, come on, guys. It really is. You know, we established this, and this is the way we're going to do things. And then they're going to say, yeah, well, maybe we should do it like this. Or maybe we should do this instead. Or maybe this is what they think, instead of acknowledging not just the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution itself, the amendments, but the Federalist Papers, you know, because it's an aspect of, if you want to know what they were thinking, read that. That'll let you know. Read the Anti-Federalist Papers, because that'll give you the idea of what the other side was saying and where the whole entire argument went and how the Constitution came about in the first place. If you want to know what they meant by the Second Amendment, then maybe you should read the Federalist Papers instead of reading about what some, you know, judge has to say, or what some professor thinks that it means, because that's what they want it to mean. But there was a provision that they put in the Constitution. And, you know, I very much would recommend people pick up a copy of it. You know, a pocket Constitution, complete with the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights in there, and all the amendments, actually. You know, pick up yourself a copy. It's only like $1. That's it. It's $1. Pick that up. Get it. Read it. It's a quick read. It's easy. It's written in plain English, so this way stupid people can understand it. You don't need a professor to tell you what it means whenever it's written in plain English. There's some stuff, in a matter of speaking, that is, you know, not really worth, I don't want to say not worth reading, but is unnecessary, because it's different things that, about like election, not with election stuff, but with the, different procedures of it, that it's like, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect anything today. This was whenever it was being established, like, hey, we're going to elect this many now, and then we're going to elect this many, and then this many, and this is how we're going to separate it. Well, that doesn't really mean anything in today, but there's other stuff in there that absolutely does. And whenever you have judges whose word means more than the actual page of the Constitution, whenever it is supposed to be the supreme law of the land, there you go. But read the Declaration of Independence, because it paints a picture of where we were at then. The things that kind of happened, you can read about that in the Federalist Papers, but it's, the Declaration of Independence. Incorrect. Look at the progressives. They cannot read plain English. Okay, very true. Very true. But it's written in plain English. I mean, like, come on. You read the title code. Obamacare. Holy crap. It was huge. The Constitution, little bitty thing. It's not that big. I know I have one. There we go. There you go. Not that big. Little bitty pamphlet. It's not that big. But there's a provision in here. And here's why I call a lot of, even alternative media, I call them cowards. And this really goes for most all of them. Because there's not many of them that's like, yeah, I wholeheartedly, yeah, there you go. Good. I'm glad you said that. Because whenever the, where's that at in here? Maybe it's after this. Wow. I know it's in here. Oh, there we go. Nope. Okay, well, whatever. But during the election, there was a lot of shenanigans that happened, a lot of things that happened that really shouldn't have. And on both sides, obviously, there was a lot of stuff that really wasn't called out. They didn't call them out on it, And it's something that, I'm sorry, I'm still looking for, there it is. Okay, Declaration of Independence. Okay, just put that face down right there. Now I have it. Lost my train of thought. I apologize. Let me get back on track. So, okay, the election. Okay, there was obvious shenanigans that was going on. There was, the Constitution was not followed. The law of various states were not followed. They were completely overlooked in order to benefit the left. That's what happened, regardless of whether you want to agree or disagree with, the counting or anything like that. There was some stuff that was illegal that happened. Okay? Bottom line, it happened. There's no way around it. There's no other way to explain it. It was unconstitutional. It was illegal. Things that happened. I mean, come on. There was like what? One of the articles I read on here was, where's that article at? Where did that article go? One of the states, they took out 100,000 names off of their voter registry. Where's that article? I'm looking for that article. I apologize. I should have had it already. Maybe it's closer to the top. Yeah, there it is. Georgia removes over 100,000 names from states' voter registration rolls. Now, here's the thing. We're not talking about the Constitution. The thing. Yeah, what Biden said, that was absolutely hilarious. That was another train wreck interview thing that he had. But, 100,000 names that they removed. Now, these aren't people whom, they said that, they just removed all willy-nilly. Okay, these were names of people who moved, who died, who moved from one place to another, moved from one jurisdiction to another. Either way you look at it, these aren't people whom are there anymore to vote. That's why these names were removed. Florida tried to do the same thing and they were overruled. They were like, no, you can't remove these names. I forget what state it was that was using the, government, change of address forms from the post office of them going that, yes, we moved. They wouldn't even let them use that to clean up voter registry. So there was obvious shenanigans going on. And these people, you know, a lot of the people that I was listening to, you know, different, you know, alternative media, you know, not going to name names, but there was a lot of them out there that didn't call a duck a duck. You know, not, you know, taking the cowardice way out. But the bottom line is, you know, like I said, read the Declaration of Independence, because you have that, you know, these are the transgressions that Great Britain did to us. The things that we feel are wrong, the things that we want to fix, the things that we try to have resolved in a diplomatic way. And Great Britain, the king was totally against even hearing us out. They would not do anything to help us out. So that is why we made the decision to separate from Great Britain, because, you know, when a government no longer has your best interests in mind and will listen to you as a people, then it is time to abolish, you know, separate yourself on the world stage from that government. And they said that when a government no longer does that, it is the responsibility of the people to abolish such government and form anew. Now, I'm not completely talking about just doing away with our form of government. But what I am going to say is there's a lot of crap that has been added through case law, through, you know, different laws that have been out there that just don't belong, and a couple fixes that needs to be made. Term limits, you know, like I said, that's a double-edged sword. You know, we have term limits. It's called somebody else running for a seat and getting elected. We have that, you know, option. If people would put aside party politics, maybe we'd be able to get that done more. But we have that. It's an option. Vote somebody else in. You don't want Sanders in there. He's running unopposed. Well, guess what? There might be somebody on the Republican ticket. Vote for that person instead. You got somebody like Mitch McConnell who doesn't have your best interests in mind. Go ahead and vote for the Democrat in office just to get rid of Mitch McConnell, because guess what? He might as well be a Democrat anyway. Acknowledge these people for what they are instead of what they claim to be. And Brandon put an excellent point in here, and that is exactly what I was about ready to say, is everybody thinks that that means a violent revolution, and this is not the truth. And absolutely correct, sir. I couldn't have put it better myself. That doesn't mean a violent revolution. I'm not talking about that, because, guys, you don't want a violent revolution. The Civil War was a horrible thing. It really was. Okay? It was absolutely a horrible thing. And just to give you a little bit of a history lesson on this, you know, there was an aspect on here, or in here, that it was, you know, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The original wordage of that was life, liberty, and property. But they you know, our founding fathers, in their brilliance, in their wisdom, was like, you know, we want to get rid of slavery, but we are not ready for that argument yet. So instead of having life, liberty, and property, and potentially having an argument that, you know, is a person property or is it a person, instead of having that argument, we're just going to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because that, you can't really argue with. That's exactly why they changed that wordage and put it in there the way that they did, because they wanted to abolish slavery. They didn't want that to be part of the American experience. They felt like, as they said in the beginning, all men are created equal. They didn't say all white men are created equal. They said all men were created equal. And by man, they meant mankind, including women. But again, we wasn't ready for that argument. Go ahead, Brandon. He said, let me get my meds in and I will call back if you wish. Hey, you know, why not? Because this, like I said, this is a topic I'm sure you're going to want in on. But that's what our founding fathers put in there. And you know, and another change I would possibly make in here is about laws. Because whenever you look back with Obamacare, what did our representatives do? And I don't call them leaders, because they are not. They are our representatives. We the people are the leaders. We the people are supposed to be operating this thing called government, this thing called DC, not supposed to be the other way around as them operating us. It's not supposed to be that way. but making it to where the laws that they write equally apply to them as it does to the rest of America. And the laws that apply to America equally apply to them as well. Throwing in something in there that exempts them from the laws that they are writing is horseshit. Should not be allowed. It's bullcrap. It creates a class of citizenship where they are privileged. They want to talk about white privilege. Well, what about political privilege? If Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were anybody else, they would have been thrown in prison a long time ago, drawn and quartered. They would have been. Why? Treason. They would have been thrown in jail for that, for that email scandal instead of just getting barely a slap on the wrist. Let's fix the mistakes. Let's call it as it is. Let's fix the mistakes. Let's get rid of the crap that shouldn't be there anymore. I mean, come on, guys. I live in Illinois. There's a town where I live, not too far from me, that actually still has on the books that black people can't be out at night. Why is that law still there? Why hasn't that been overturned? Why hasn't that been eliminated? It's still on the books. It's still there. You can read it. You can look it up. There it is. Why don't laws have a sunset clause? Because they really should. Because laws like that is a prime example of why we need a sunset clause on some laws. Because if it's so important, then we can bring it back. We can bring it back. If it's that important, if it's something that we absolutely need, we can bring it back. But if it isn't, let it go by the wayside where it belongs. Let it just live in the pages of history, not in an actual law that is still on the books. Now, this is a law that isn't enforced, kind of like jaywalking in a lot of different areas. This is a town that was once but isn't as much anymore. Racist, but again, it's still there. Sunset clause. Get rid of the BS that doesn't belong there. But like Brandon said, we're not talking about violent revolution, but here's the thing. Our founding fathers, I forget which one it was, it might be actually in the front of here because there are a lot of good quotes in here from our founding fathers. And, when Brandon comes back, if he does end up calling, maybe he will know. But somebody said that the Tree of Liberty, and I think this might have been Thomas Jefferson, but I'm not 100% sure. The Tree of Liberty from time to time needs to be watered by the blood of tyrants. What's that saying? That yes, have a diplomatic solution. Do it if you can. If you can't, if the government no longer represents you and has been, totally against the people who they represent, then a violent revolution can't be taken off the table. Thomas Jefferson said it, or whomever the guy was. Our Constitution flat says it, whoever it was that said that. But it can't be removed from the table. Again, I'm not calling for violent revolution. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not calling for violent revolution. Night, guys, stay well. Yes, you too, J-Ron, you have yourself a great one, and thank you for joining us today. Take it easy. Patriots and tyrants is what Brandon said over there in Facebook land. But yeah, we have some things we need to correct, obviously. Term limits, equal application of the law. But the problem isn't the Constitution. The problem isn't the amendments. The problem isn't the Declaration of Independence. In a lot of ways, the problem has been how people have chosen to interpret it. Because they're not doing it with any historic standing. There's not. By saying that the government has the constitutional authority to put people on welfare because of the the welfare clause in the Constitution. That's not what it meant. And if you guys had a clue, you would read a book and you would figure that out real easily. It's not what they were talking about. And Brandon said that it was Jefferson in 1787 written to a British diplomat. Gotcha. I thought it was Jefferson, but I wasn't 100% sure on that. But the bottom line is, we need to get rid of the bloated crap that has been weighing us down, with our nation. Because, like I said, guys, whenever you have case precedents that weighs more, has more standing than what the Constitution itself does, well, that's kind of Bravo Sierra. It really is. No other way to put it, no other way to acknowledge it. It's crap. It shouldn't be like that, and it doesn't belong there. It really doesn't. And there's a lot of instances out there regarding that. There really is. I mean, there's a lot. There's no need to go over all of them because it's just not. It's not necessary. I mean, you guys understand it. You guys get it. You understand what I'm trying to say. Take back the country, get involved, do the diplomatic thing if necessary. But when push comes to shove, when your freedom is out the door, and there's a lot of aspects in this country where your freedoms have been removed. And welcome back, Brandon. How you doing? Yeah, honey, I'm home. Yes. But, there's a lot of things where it's been, it's been put by the wayside, So how you doing? Welcome back.
Well, I'm about useful for another few minutes until the meds kick in, then I become useless. So,
Gotcha.
But no, it was in fact, it was Thomas Jefferson. The only reason I remember the date is because I have it in my book. That was 1787. I believe it was even somewhere in the realms of November of that year, where he was talking with a British diplomat. Mind you, this is after just a short breath after the Revolution.
Right, yeah. And that's definitely one up on me because I remembered the quote, and like I said, I was pretty sure that it was Jefferson that said it, but as far as the context or anything like that, when, where, who it was to, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie.
It was written to, like I said, to a diplomatic official. I'm trying to think of the name. And don't quote me on this because I'm a little rusty. I haven't looked this stuff up for a while. It's in my book, but
yeah.
I'm wanting to say it was Smith, someone named Smith.
Okay.
But he was written, and the reason why it was written that way is they were bantering back and forth about what had happened. The revolution and whatever else. And this was basically the warning from Jefferson that, we can do this again.
Yeah. And actually, the British did end up coming back and fighting with us again on that, trying to take their territory back. But, like I was saying earlier, though, there is an aspect of this, as far as freedoms being taken away, from people. Think about it. We live in the great state of Illinois. All right.
Yep.
This
Thanks for
is,
reminding me.
yeah, right. Yeah. This is one of the only, and correct me if I'm wrong, you probably know, but one of the only states in America where you do not actually have the Second Amendment. It is not a right. They view it as a privilege. And I'm not even talking concealed carry. I'm talking about just the aspect of owning a firearm is a privilege because you don't inherently have that right, even though you were granted that. Given to you by your creator, upheld by the Second Amendment, you do not have that right. You have to ask for it from government in the form of a FOID card.
Because let's remind the people out there that are listening. This is the United States. There's federal and there's state. Think of the states like little miniature countries. They have their own constitution.
Yes.
And even though the federal constitution is technically it's the checks and balances to save us from the government, At the same time, it gives the states concessions to write their own.
You know, but there's an aspect of that, and I've heard that argument before, but I got to be honest with you, I disagree with that, because if you are willing to put by the wayside the Second Amendment, then also you don't have the First. But part of this union of countries, because that's what, you know, the US of A is. It is a, you know, it's like the Federation of Planets if you're a Trekkie, okay? We are a nation of nations. We are not a nation of people, as far as federally speaking goes. But in order to become part of the Union, that Virginia had to sign on to the Constitution and say, we honor that. That meant that you had the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom to peaceably assemble and address your government for redress of grievances. I worded that horribly, but you guys know what I'm saying. That also includes you have the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You are required to join the Union to sign off on the Constitution and said, yes, we will acknowledge that. That includes the Second Amendment as well as the First. It's not separate because the the First Amendment does not exist without the First. The First Amendment doesn't exist without the Second. And besides that, you know, there is no militia if you don't have the right to keep and bear arms. Exactly. The people are the militia. But you don't have that if people don't have the right to keep and bear arms.
And the way to control the people is to control that.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. During the early 19th century, you know, early 20th century, you know, like 1920, stuff like that, when gangsters were rampant, especially in Chicago, that was when the Illinois Constitution began taking steps that are against the federal Constitution in order to block them from doing what they were doing. And guess what they found out? And this should be a lesson to this day, and they're still not understanding that.
Right.
You can't write laws that
a criminal is going to obey.
A criminal is going to abide by, right? So you know, you had you had prohibition, you had like you said, gun legislation, stuff like that. You know, you can no longer have an automatic. Well, half of Chicago was shot up by Tommy guns and BARs, so absolutely, it might have been illegal for the average person, but the gangsters just did not give a shit.
You know, and that's the thing too. And I'm glad you brought that up as part of a history lesson. But here's the thing, though, too. You know, where did these gangs come from? It was because the police force was totally inadequate to take care of crime in these areas.
Yep.
It was because there wasn't enough law enforcement, and people had to go somewhere and rely on someone for that protection, for that law, for that adherence. And unfortunately, they turned to gangs, which totally took advantage of it. And then, you know, they got to the aspect where they had to fund what they were doing somehow.
Yep. Criminal enterprise.
Yep. But, you know, and that's the thing. You look at
today with
you look at any mass shooting over the course of, you know, modern history. Give me a law that could have been written that could have stopped that mass shooting.
You won't find any.
Exactly. You know, because, I mean, let's face it, they already broke the law in the first place in order to do the shooting that they did. There's not another law that you can write that's going to somehow adequately combat that and make the criminal go, yeah, okay, fine, I'll stop. You know, you put a guns not allowed in the front of a, you know, in the front of a movie theater. What does that tell a criminal? Hey, I can go in here and shoot everybody and I'm not going to have to worry about anything until the cops finally decide to show up.
Correct.
You create victims, you know, and for some reason they think that if I write this law, making it harder for a law-abiding citizen, a good guy, to own a gun, that is somehow going to make a criminal impotent in committing a crime. You know, kind of like I need to castrate myself because my neighbor has too many kids and they're on the government payroll and, you know, I've got to do my part to, you know, for population control, so I'm going to castrate myself. There is no logic.
Yep.
You know, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You know, and I love talking about two different instances whenever it comes to guns. You know, one is the merchant ship that had contacted, I believe it was Thomas Jefferson, about having a particular type of cannon on their boat. on their ship.
Yeah.
And Jefferson's response was, absolutely can, America. You know, because what they were talking about was like like a rail gun is what the, you know, like it was a top of the line cannon that they had back in that day. Do we have, as per the Second Amendment, the right to protect ourselves from pirates and thieves out there that wish to kill us and take our stuff? Do we have the right to protect ourselves? And Jefferson was like, absolutely. You know, and then the other portion I like to throw in here too is with the sawed-off shotgun. Most people are aware that that is an illegal modification, but do you know the wordage as to why?
Yeah, but go ahead.
The wordage as to why is because it is not a modification that is currently being used by military, therefore you can't have it as a civilian. That tells me that if this is a weapon modification that is being used by the military, then that means I can have it. People like to throw an AR-15 in there as a military-style weapon. No, the AR-15 was originally a civilian weapon that the military liked so much they were like, hey, we're going to make our own version of this.
Yep. 3-round burst and fully automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Two things that we can't get.
Exactly, because that is the definition of a assault rifle that the left, you know, wants to redefine it to mention or to include any gun that they don't like the looks of. Even though, no, that's not what an assault rifle is. It's not a black gun that looks military style, because that doesn't change the ballistics of a bullet. No. And it doesn't change how many rounds gets thrown down range whenever you pull the trigger once. No. That's not what an assault rifle is. But they are afraid of the average everyday individual having that type of thing. And I've had this discussion with people. They're like, what, you think that everybody should have a tank? And I'm like, well, if they can afford it, sure. I would love to have one. I mean, hell, I can own a Barrett 50 cal right now if my checkbook would allow it. Price points is going to keep that kind of crap out of the hands of most people. You know, I mean, come on, let's be real. Just because you make it legal for somebody to own a bazooka doesn't mean that you're going to see him on every street corner in the United States. Let's be realistic. You know, but these are the arguments they like to throw out there.
Yeah, and tax stamps are expensive, yo.
Yeah.
From the ATF. They're a little pricey.
Yeah. You know, and I tell you what, I really hope, and maybe you can inform me on this. I know that they are looking to put, you know, taxes on, you know, guns, on magazines, on ammunition, and all this kind of stuff. Definitely taking it to where the average everyday citizen is going to make it impossible for them to own a firearm. Like I would owe, you know, assuming that the tornado didn't take all of my weapons like it did, but it would make it to where I would own the government like over $1,000 for the weapons that I did have. And, you know, making it to where, oh, well, now I can't afford my weapons. And, gee, my Second Amendment right has just been taken away from me effectively.
Well, remember, this is one of the biggest arguments that the progressive left has. And they fail at it so miserably. Like I refer to them as heads of cabbage. I'm sorry if that hurts their feelings, but it's true.
Yep, it's true.
Their biggest argument with that... My medication's kicking in, so I'm getting a little clouded. Give me a moment to triangulate
Right.
and figure out where I was going with this. What were we talking about again?
Guns, the progressive heads of cabbage, one of the things they try to do.
Yeah, no. What they constantly try to do is they say, well, nobody's trying to take your guns. And that's their age-old argument is nobody's trying to take your guns. I was like, well... do you want me to show you the ban bills and everything else? Well, those failed. Like, yeah, you're absolutely correct. They failed. You know why they failed? Because we said go yourself.
Exactly. And that goes against their argument that they did try. You know, they try to say that, oh, nobody's trying to do this. Well, you have tried. You may have failed in the past, but you have tried.
And they keep saying, well, nobody, they still to this day, well, it failed, so nobody's trying to take your guns. No, actually, you are. Look at the laws and look at how they're written and look at what they're doing. What they're doing is they know that they can't, without 2/3 vote, without 36 states, that they cannot repeal or ratify the Constitution. They cannot mess with the Second Amendment. So their way of doing it, like even Obama himself said, I'm not going to take your guns anymore. I'm going to screw with your ammunition.
Exactly. A backdoor way to disarm America. And making it harder not to just buy ammunition, but to buy, casings, bullets, and gunpowder. That was another thing that they were doing, putting a shelf life on it, making it to where you can only have these for a limited time. And you have to register each and every box of ammunition and bullet that you have, that you buy.
Yep, and that's what these laws are for. These laws are to necessarily ban certain types of ammunition, ban certain types of firearms, put them on the list of the no-no squad, so they can't be purchased. And then they put the tax stamps on the rest of them, so that way you cannot afford, the average Joe Blow is not going to be able to afford to protect themselves. So therefore, they are subverting the Second Amendment and rendering it useless.
Exactly.
They may not be able to get away or get rid of it, but they can render it useless, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's like taking away your First Amendment freedom of press. You can have a printer. Sure, you can have a pen, but you can't have the ink. We're going to tax that out of your price range where you can't have it, effectively removing, your freedom of press. It's the same thing.
Or in our case, with social media and other avenues.
Yes.
They do
Censorship.
everything that they can to shut us down because, we're not using our feelings, we're using our facts now, so we can't have this. So what are we going to do to stop you? Well, we're just going to say that this is, and boy, do I ever know about censorship.
Yeah,
you've been 4 times this year already.
Yep. And that's the thing, too, because they like to say that, it's Facebook, it's a private company, they can do whatever they want. Excuse me, no, they are not. Because if you are publicly traded on Wall Street, you are not a private company. I actually have, exactly. And on the public square, you have freedom of speech and all, this, that, and the other. You have that. I don't own stock in Facebook, but I do own stock in Twitter, just so I can say that space that I am occupying on their platform belongs to me. It is mine. They do not have the right to censor me, to throttle me, nothing. They don't have that right because it's mine. I own it. I bought it. I paid for it with my money. Same thing goes for Facebook. You have that option to do that. They are not a privatized company. This is the public arena, and they claim to be a platform, but they are acting like a publisher, and they still have the freedoms, the privileges that comes with claiming to be a platform.
Yep. Further down the rabbit hole we go here.
Yeah, further down the rabbit hole. But that's another topic. That's another topic. That's that whole section 30.
That's why I said it.
Yeah, that's that, section 230, which, they're wanting to rewrite, but it's like, guys, you don't need to rewrite section 230. Why don't you just enforce it as it's written right now? That would force Facebook to make a decision. What are they going to be, a platform or a publisher? And then you hold them accountable for what it is they decide to be, instead of allowing them to claim one and operate as another.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I'm going to call that the show because it's been like 2 hours and 23 minutes already. Holy crap, this has gone a little long.
It's my fault.
What's that?
It's my fault.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. There was a lot to talk about today. So, yeah. So, guys, if you guys want to check out the articles that I've used on the show, just head on over to thehohoshow.com. Click on that newsfeed tab, and they'll see my magazine on Flipboard. And as always, thank you for tuning in and participating. Y'all have yourself a wonderful day. Good night. Sleep tight, and if the bed bugs bite, well, by golly, bite them back. This has been The Ho-Ho Show. For more information, you can head to thehohoshow.com. And for the merchandise store, you can head on over to stinkpickle.com. That is stinkpikle.com. Until next time.